I used to deliver DVD to Tonight Show under Jay Leno. Jim Norton, very funny comedian, he started going to Tonight Show when he was working for Opie and Anthony. I went with him, and Leno was so gracious and nice. Jim introduced me to them, saying he's a comic, but he's also working. They kind of laugh. And sometimes if the star said, I like what they do is they call me, I'll bring boxes of in. When Seth Rogen showed up, he mentioned right away. So every time he show up, I'll bring for him. I just bring a bunch of different Evil Angel stuff. He's so cool because he doesn't hide that from his girlfriend who became his wife. Yeah. So I think second time when I showed, I go, honey, look, he brought me whatever. She was really cool. And there's a bunch of other stars I used to deliver. Like it was a pretty big star, and I saw him second time, brought DVDs, and he said, no, not today, my girlfriend's here. It made me laugh because he's Oscar-nominated big star. They're afraid of their girlfriend or wife.
Oh,
yeah.
Two goons, not one but two goons. Two goons, 7 hours in the bathroom.
My name's Yoshi Obayashi, and you're watching Two Goons.
And guys, you can catch the Goons live. Get all your tickets at chaterarena.com or
jjliebermanlive.com. I don't think people know the spectrum of Yoshi.
What does that mean?
No, you are on the spectrum.
I am? Are you? Wait.
Yoshi, you donate your body to science.
Oh, that's what you mean.
No, that's not what I mean. This is what I mean. People will just look at you as this like Asian guy we're having on the podcast, but you're a unique character, and this is my whole
Once again.
And this is my whole point.
Well, I think the average fan is like, they don't understand that you were in the industry for a long time.
You're a comedian.
You're a comedian. You've toured with some of the biggest comics in the world.
I started weirdly the day I started working. The day I started working in summer of '99. I don't remember exactly, but the day was the premiere of Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, and also it was the same day when JFK Jr. got killed in a plane accident.
Jesus,
That's when you started comedy.
Working. Yeah, Taboo Video in Seattle.
Okay.
So this is my whole point about you.
Yeah.
You are a well-known human being.
That's not true.
You're the guy who knows. You're the most famous, least famous person I know. You know so many.
That's fair. Just among comedians.
You're friends with so many famous people, but only the people who know who you are. Like, so this is my whole point, Jay.
Mm-hmm. I cheated though because I used to deliver DVD to Tonight Show under Jay Leno.
You did?
Because what happened was Jim Norton, a very funny comedian, he started going to Tonight Show, mid-2000, and when he was working for Opie and Anthony, and I went with him first night, and Leno was so gracious and nice, and then
I heard Leno's amazing,
and I think while Jim was explaining to Ross and Bob Reed, they were also the first 2 years of Last Comic Standing, the host in the beginning. Yeah. So anyway, when Jim introduced me to them, saying he's a comic, but he's also working, they kind of laugh. But what happened later on, those two are segment producers. So what they do is they talk to star of the show.
Yeah. And
if they have a funny story, and sometimes if the star said, I like what they do is they call me, I'll bring boxes of for them. So here's a great example. And amazing Vancouver connection here.
Yeah.
When Seth Rogen showed up, he mentioned right away.
Yeah.
So every time he show up, I'll bring for him.
What kind of does he like?
I just bring a bunch of different Evil Angel stuff, just send it to him. And he's so cool because he doesn't hide that from his girlfriend who became his wife. Yeah. So I think second time when I showed a lot of, I go, honey, look, he brought me whatever. She was really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
he doesn't hide it from a wife, but he probably hides it from the internet knowing, and now they know.
And there's a bunch of other stars I used to deliver. Like, I don't want to say, but it was a pretty big star. And I saw him second time, brought DVDs, and he said, no, not today, my girlfriend's here. It made me laugh because he's Oscar-nominated big star.
Yeah.
Everybody's got
They're afraid of their girlfriend or wife.
Yeah.
So how about this? Dude. So this is my whole point of the Yoshi thing. So I told you, and you, I was so fascinated. So I am heavily influenced by Anthony Bourdain. I've read his book.
Yes,
I've watched all his
I have
shows.
too, yeah.
I've re-watching his shows.
Yeah.
So I just bought HBO Max for like like I go through like I buy them, cancel.
Yeah.
So I bought
Same
it
here.
again. I start on season 1 of Parts Unknown. So it's with Roy Choi and David Choe. And then at the last scene of David Choe, Roy Choi, and Anthony Bourdain at the bar, you're at the bar on Parts Unknown.
But you already knew that, right?
No, I did not
Oh, you didn't know that.
So here I am
Yeah.
late at night enjoying this Anthony Bourdain kick,
Yeah.
and I see Yoshi, and my mind gets blown.
Well, you know what happens? I knew Dave at that point, a couple of years.
David Choe.
Yeah, he's a famous street artist, and he did artwork for Facebook. And instead of taking cash, he took stocks. And I think 2012 New York Times article say it was worth between $200 and $250 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he was already a millionaire through gambling and painting, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the first time I was here with him in Vegas,
Because you used to travel from L.A. to Vegas with him.
yeah, well, we have a mutual friend named Harry Kim who used to be like his caddy, because sometimes somebody need to tell him like you need to stop gambling, you know.
Yeah. So he had like a handler.
Yeah, and I was shocked because I've been to Vegas prior to that for AVN, things like that. But
Yeah.
I think first time I went with him, he's such a heavy roller that he had a bunch of penthouse in different casinos. Sometimes he forget where he had a casino or whatever. So like all that managers for the casino keep calling him, please stay here, we'll give you food credit and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I
So he
remember-
was like playing huge. Like he's talked about it openly and publicly on Rogan.
Yeah, and dude, I lose $20. I'm depressed, and like I can't watch that because he'll still send $10,000 a hand or more, and that's just, I'm just a poor person, so it's nauseating. But I remember one time we went to like, hey, I think I have a like Venetian or something. So then he remembered he had it. We went to his room, and on the bed there was just huge pile of cash.
No.
Jesus.
He completely forgot.
He forgot he left a pile of cash in the
Yeah, like I thought it was a joke because
Yeah.
his artist. I thought it was a counterfeit. No, it's real money.
yeah.
And it's not like $1 either. It's like
Yeah.
100. You know,
What were you
$100,000.
doing this time when you going on these like extra? Because it was, I think he's talked about doing Vegas and doing hookers, right?
some of it. I think I saw one time he was with this.
So, but what are you doing at this time? You're just in hanging out.
I was doing shows and things like that. But he liked when I do shows. You know, I'm not very successful at all, but big enough.
I mean, you're on this podcast. That's pretty.
No,
I mean, you gotta be successful to come on here.
But I think a lot of comedians like me because they, you know, a lot of the comedians are very open-minded. They're
Well, you're unfiltered.
yeah, and also I get along because they have to be kind of like whisperer.
Yes, yes.
And that's why Tom Segura and Christina Pazinski are good. And every time I do their pod, I do good because they know how to get best out of me. you know?
Well,
Yeah.
I
well,
think
you're also like insanely interesting. That you were
also
telling me
you are insane a little bit.
yes, a little crazy.
Like you don't people. I would never want to cross you because I know people.
I don't know how to fight.
What? No, not. No, I don't want to get on your bad side.
I know when you look in my face, you're saying ching chong, but I don't know how to fight. I don't know how to fight.
For what it's worth, I didn't know you knew how to mind read. So.
But
no,
you-
you're really interesting. You're a little so.
when you've worked in like you've toured with huge comics, like you were in the industry, like
You tour with Russell
like-
Peters sometimes.
Like you said, 14 years ago you stopped doing. So you were in it like early ages of like VHS, DVD.
Well, I started working in summer of '99, and then I was working at retail in Seattle, Tacoma.
What were you doing before all this? You're just.
I graduated and I was working for my mom's restaurant in Washington State, but
And that's the other thing. So one time we see you. I met you in Toronto with Jason Rouse. Then years.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, years later, I see you in Austin, Texas. I was opening for Che Arena.
Yeah.
I was super broke, but he was taking good care of me. Him and Ryan Long both would bring me on the road.
Yeah.
We would do shows, and then we would like. Me and Che had this kick. I think it was 2023. We would do a show, and like if we were in Phoenix, then we would go to Austin after. If we were in Denver, we did these trips to Austin,
Yeah,
Texas. One of these trips, you're in the green room at Sunset Strip.
Okay.
And we're yakking it up because I haven't seen you in years.
Okay.
And then Che goes to me, he's like, bro, you have to see this clip of Yoshi from years ago when you and David Choe
just
did
seen that
Rogan.
clip again,
It just started going viral again. I'm stoned out of my mind, and I'm...
I got a lot of really weird response to that
So
one.
no,
years
but
later.
here's the setup. Here's the setup.
Yeah.
I'm stoned out of my mind.
Yeah.
We just went to Voodoo Donuts. We're back in the... We stayed at this, remember the Super 8 motel or
Yeah,
whatever
what's
it was?
the La Quinta Inn?
La Quinta Inn, right downtown, and I'm high as out of my mind. He plays this clip on my phone from you and David Choe on Rogan. I'm laughing and crying. I was like, I can't deal with this because it was the whole lead. It wasn't even the story you told about the funeral, which you can tell again. It was the first part that killed me was the fact that you were telling this joke.
Oh no! Don't say it.
You
though.
know, I won't say the joke.
Yeah.
But you're telling this joke, and it bombed, and you said what the punchline was, and Rogan looks at you and goes, "That's not a punchline."
No, I don't approve of this. I think that's what he said. I think.
I forget what it was, but it was so funny. Then you go on to tell the
Yeah.
craziest story I've ever heard.
I don't want to get into detail because I don't want you to get demonetized or something. But I will say that
I will take a demonetization for you. We can also edit. Bleep.
I'm not going to use the word. I just want people to know my intention. It's that the way I was brought up, you're not supposed to cry in any circumstance and express kind of grief and stuff.
Yeah.
And when my dad passed away, we didn't know for certain if it was a murder.
Yeah.
And then I went to police station and look at the pictures, and it was horrific because my dad was hanging from a ceiling for like a couple of weeks. So he got so dark.
I'm sorry for laughing.
He got so dark. He looked like a night crawler. That's how dark, right? He looked like Jamal Obayashi. You know what I'm saying? He was. So I'm okay because I'm talking about my dad. You know. So I don't mean disrespect when I use these words. I mean I don't mean like that at all.
It's funny, dude.
But I was brought up. You're not supposed to cry in no circumstance.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me because somebody asked me. My friend asked me, "Were you devastated?" Then the punch, I didn't set it up right because he's not a comic. The way Dave said it, so I said something horrible so I don't cry, and the punchline was I devastated? Of course, my dad looks like. Then I said the N word. That was a kind of, you know. It's not 1967 in Mississippi, for God's sake.
Bro,
You know what I mean?
bro, I'm eating a
But I didn't say
blueberry
like be
cake
disrespectful.
donut, and when you said
Yeah.
when you say that,
Yeah.
I'm
No, but there's a difference. You can tell the difference. For one, it's a different time when that was said.
Yeah.
and also I wasn't trying to be
funny. You weren't trying to tell a joke.
insensitive to people, but whenever some people get mad at me when I talk, I say a lot of horrible stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the people who get mad, it's usually they probably are trivial people,
Yeah.
and they probably never had a difficult life, you know. Because if this is the worst thing happened to you, then you had a pretty easy life.
Yeah.
And two, if you deal with like when I used to work at Taboo Video, I started working at midnight to a.m. in downtown Seattle. You can imagine how horrific it could be.
People would go in there to be off
like,
in
I
the
got
booth.
25 stitches finding a shoplifter and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Jesus.
So when you deal with like police officer and doctors and nurses, they have a gallows humor because without it, they can't continue to do good work.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. I know that people want clean comedy, but I also believe there is a place for dark and edgy material because
yeah.
how are you able to talk about these horrible things happening in life? If you're able to laugh at something, you could talk about it, and if you could talk about it, you could help people get better. That's why I told you before the show started. What you guys are doing is public service. I'm serious when I say this because I've been to 72 countries. There are so many countries you can't even talk about these things.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for them, you know. And I didn't get into like a public service. I was like, one of my friends was working, Tana Manu, who was friend of Brody Stevens. He had a huge influence, Brody, and he told me how much money those trusts were making, and my family was poor, so I basically I got into the business thinking I could help my family.
Yeah.
But when you work in and this show, we didn't have shows like this.
Yeah.
Where people could comment and ask for help and things like that.
Yeah.
Here's a couple examples. Like, and you guys would have been perfect. You guys would have been so understanding and compassionate, not judging, you know. But I remember one time this lady walked in, and she looked like Middle Eastern. Even though I've never seen one late 90s. I've never known like a Jewish person or Muslim.
Yeah.
Person is pretty much white, Asian, and blacks or something.
Yeah.
So she walked in. I thought she went straight to a bondage section.
Yeah.
And she's getting whips and shit like that, right? Like, wow, what an interesting choice. And I asked her, and make sure no man is harassing her.
Yeah.
Make her comfortable. And I just basically said, I hope I'm not bothering, but, you know, can I ask you something? And she said, sure. Where are you from? And she said, you could ask me anything. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And I told her, I've never been to the Middle East, but I've read and heard that compared to the United States, they don't really treat women well compared to our standards. They tell them what to do. There are limited opportunities, and if they make small mistake, they could possibly get whipped to death. And here you are buying whips, so it's a little confusing to me.
Yeah.
And I thought she was going to say, well, our anniversary, I want my husband to pick me up or something.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
She said, it's true in my country, they limit my opportunities, tell me what to do. I don't really have a say in a lot of things. And if I make a small mistake, severe punishment, and I could literally get whipped to death. But here's the thing. BDSM is one of the few things people are asking me constantly. Are you okay? Are you comfortable? Would you like to do this? Would you like to stop? It's the first time, or one of the first time, people are really significantly interested in her well-being and want to make sure she's happy, give her a sense of power and things like that.
Whoa.
Now, me, I didn't expect that answer, right?
Yeah.
So I went in looking for money, but what happened next? 27.
You went in looking for money and you came out some Muslim chick.
I think somebody's Jewish in here. So I think that was one of the first time I realized that just because something looks weird and harmful even to me, maybe that person is making them happy for once.
Yes.
And I think it's my job to help those people. So
you wait, just to clear this up, your first job was you were working like basically front desk at a store.
yeah, downtown Seattle to have a video store. Yeah.
So it had video. So basically, people go rent DVDs, but also
buy toys, magazines, and back.
Yeah.
There's booth and
for guys to go off.
Yeah, and I had to mop those places too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, when people online get upset, you don't know real horrors until
Yes.
you've been wiping up.
Well, you know what's so crazy? In downtown Toronto, you've been to Church Street,
yeah.
which is the gay area. They used to have an iconic off booth place. You go down the steps. It's not there anymore. I forget, but it was across the street from the Second Cup where. What was that show with Scott Thompson? Oh, Kids in the Hall.
Yes.
So across from the steps where they filmed Kids in the Hall was this downstairs, and I went in there only one time to off.
Yeah.
And this was like early 2000s. It was like people would like. It wasn't even the. It was like there was all over the place. It was so disgusting.
Yeah.
So you had to clean that up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go back to Anthony Bourdain, so remind me, but
Why he used to go off?
no. Because it was such a pivotal moment in my life, but it just made me sad because after when he himself hanging like my dad, you just kind of notice things,
Yeah.
And,
like, what did you notice?
well, you know how most regular people, they work and couples,
Yeah.
and then they save enough money, and once they retire, let's have a great time travel the world.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people associate travel like happy retirement and one time. But I think he believed that too, and I believe that too because I've been traveling like nonstop.
Yeah, you do. You like you said, what 72?
I mean, I'm just insanely obsessed with traveling, but traveling gives you content, but doesn't make you content.
Okay.
I think he might have been running from his problem and whatnot. I don't know what's going on, but I think when I read those books, it just made me sound like didn't he say it one time how he was kind of suicidal after the first marriage or something?
Yeah,
it was devastating.
He's talked about so the thing I take from Anthony Bourdain, again, probably like my
just a beautiful person.
Currently biggest influence in terms of artists ever, because I consider him an artist. But
100%.
Now when I watch Parts Unknown, I watch it and you're like, on one hand, you see this man who's completely fulfilled, living like the most amazing life, and you can see it in him.
Yeah.
Happy, really excited, really understands the value of life. But on the other hand, you also see, because he goes to these places and you see like the darkness of him witnessing this thing, and it's truly amazing. And because he was never fluffing, like he never bullshitted around it.
Yeah.
And that was what was so amazing about watching the documentary about him on Roadrunner, because he purposely wanted to see how far he could take it with the executives. And then I listened to Founders Podcast, and the Founders Podcast is probably one of the best podcasts I've ever, aside from Two Goons. But he narrated the book, and you talk about this. There, Bourdain mentioned about previous times being suicidal.
Yeah.
So there's this man who widely, from your friends, from you, from just people who've never met him. People who've never met him have a picture of him on their phone.
Yes.
Regarded as the ultimate human being, food, travel, good looking, very intelligent, but he was like deeply saddened, and some, like, there was some like deep pain that he would deal with, but also the same regard, like he was also living this most incredible life.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't friend with him. He texted me, and he tweeted to me a couple of times after the show. He was very nice, but I couldn't even say I was friend. I'm not a friend. Dave was a friend of his. I met him one time, and I'm like a starstruck. I think he's incredible. Like, every woman want to be with him, and every man want to be him.
Yes, rock star. He was a rock star.
Rock star. But it did make me sad because Asia Argento,
yeah.
I have such a complex feeling for someone like that, because on one hand, if you're attracted to her, maybe there's something wrong with you, because she has. I'm not saying she's a bad person, but she had terrible things happen to her, and I think she's got emotional problem or mental problems, But at the time, I remember she ended up. Do you remember that scandal she has with the guy who played her son when he was 11 years old?
Yeah.
And later on, Anthony Bourdain helped her pay the damages for like $500,000, I don't know, $400,000 for $500,000 compensating, And I think it's gotta be weird for him, who respect women, who doesn't molest people, to be with somebody who did somebody illegally, and for him to help, and then find out on the day that he killed himself, there was allegedly a picture of her kissing and hugging some guy, I don't know, Romeo Milan or something like that.
Yeah.
It's I think that's too much stuff to process. And I wonder, because I've heard stories where people jump from Golden Gate Bridge, and after they jump, they realize they don't want to die.
Yeah.
And they survive. That's why we have this quote from them. So I wonder how many people jump, want to live, that they die. I wonder, because you know what they say, like if you could hold on when you have like an emotional breakdown, just
push through.
If you could push through that 10-15 minutes, you could survive. But like I'm not sure if you had some incident that night, because it was too much for him to handle it. I don't know what happened.
Well, that's what they said in the book.
Because his friend was with him, but one of his best friends was
Eric Ripert.
Yeah.
Well, it is hard to be with someone and be so close to someone and feel like you understand them. And like, he probably had like an insane level of trust with this woman that he's so close to. And then
he was infatuated with it from the Hong Kong episode.
But that's my whole point with the thing, Che, is like, when you watch someone who's like so vulnerable, he's just you're so vulnerable as a human being, that's what makes you great. But you're really just so vulnerable.
Yeah, but when you trust someone that much and you have that much belief in them, and then that's pulled away, your concept of reality kind of gets broken. Because you're like,
Yeah,
oh, this
you're right,
person
you're
has
right.
been lying to me, who I thought what I understand is true isn't true, and my world has been manipulated.
Yeah.
That's what can be really f***ed up for people.
Oh, that is what it is. It's
And I don't remember the exact quote, but I think on that day he texted Asia something like, "You shouldn't have played with my feelings or emotion."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but having said that, I don't know if I could blame her either, because there was, when you're with damaged person, there's part of you must be attracted to that, or you think you don't deserve to be with somebody who will treat you better, So I don't want to blame everything, because, my dad, my uncle, my cousin commits, and like
Really?
Yeah. And
Your dad, your uncle, and your cousin.
my cousin did it 2-3 weeks after my dad, and then
Why?
I think 7
Why
8
do you think your dad did it, by the way?
Well, to this day, I don't know if it was a murder.
The dad one's confusing. Yeah.
But my stepmother was a terrible person. I don't like repeating, because I'm boring people, because a lot of people heard it.
No, you're not.
but
I'm fine. Again, you're like, sometimes you'll call me, and I sometimes like not blow you off, but we're all doing our thing in different times.
Oh no, it doesn't bother. I know I'm very busy. Sometimes I'm stuck in Europe and it's middle of the night and I'm bored. And when I call people during the day, that's why I call people. So.
No, but that's why I love doing this. But yeah, and I know you've told a story about you had a situation.
But I don't know if my dad was murdered, or if it was
to this day.
No, because I mean, it's kind of funny to say. In good scenario, my dad killed himself. Worse, and worse, it's like he got murdered. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't bother when people laugh at me, because if I'm saying horrible stuff on stage all the time, I can't be a baby about that. But
it's just that's so dark. It's like, in the best case scenarios, my dad killed himself. That's
does
dark.
that something like bother you, like on a day-to-day basis? Like,
no, but I have to say my jokes are dark the way my dad was dark that the final day. And he was really dark, man.
Yeah,
it's just like a night crawler. I'm not even kidding. Like,
so,
dude.
But how long did it take you? Because I mean, like, go talk about breakups. Sometimes you get broken up with.
Yeah.
The worst breakup I had was, it took me like months to get over. And it was like a day in and day out thing. I would just always replay. This was like in 2017.
Yeah.
I would just always replay the situation. Why did I would think about this person at night, think about this person in the morning. Thankfully now I'm not like, I don't have those kinds of emotions. But like, did you just like deal with it? Like, because you again, you don't have to tell a story, but you flipped out on your stepmother, right?
So what happened was the cemetery's like on the mountain, so like you have to go upstairs like a different level, and I think on the second to third highest part there is all this burial place. I went up.
Lowers his mic. Yeah, I got it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah, I know. He was fine.
Okay.
The longer you sit on the couch,
The more you sink.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So you're saying second, third level? Because I heard the story once, and
I went up with my aunt, and I saw my stepmother. My aunt cussed her out and said, "You my brother" in Japanese, and she's doing some kind of stuff.
But cursing it out, it's like a lot of
yeah.
What the was that, dude?
I gotta admit that's really funny because it does sound like that. I'll be honest.
Cursing her out is a lot of hi.
And my stepmother can't look at me because she doesn't know how I'm gonna react. She's looking at it, just putting plate, because you have to do some food offering when somebody dies.
Yeah.
And then I didn't plan to do this, but next thing I walk up to her and grab her back of her head and start punching her face, and I kicked her on the ground, and I spread her leg and I start stomping between her, there's her place, and then I kicked so hard a couple of times it made a cracking sound.
Jesus.
Mazel tov. And then. And then I've been kicking her head, and you know how much kicking thing you have to do when Asian people have small eye, it's ready to pop out. It requires a lot of kicking. You know what I mean? And if you're ever going to do that, and I'm serious when I say it, if you're ever going to beat up somebody like that, like you should definitely stretch beforehand because
Jesus
I was
Christ.
Sore
struggling.
after the next day?
I was, yeah, and then
Did you cold plunge to feel better?
and I stopped because I think one of the cemetery employees screamed. I kind of snapped out of it.
Yeah.
I ran down the stairs. I saw her nephew. I sucker punched because at that point I was thinking, well, I already assaulted one. What difference does it make if I
Yeah.
hit 3-4 more of her family? So
Yeah.
I decided to just hit him anyway.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna get in trouble, go all the way,
Yeah.
right?
That's what
so
I say.
I hit this guy. Went downstairs. Saw my stepmother's older sister and in-law. I just went up and started sucker punching both of them. Yeah. And then my cousin took me out of there. We drove out of the mountain with the cemetery thing. We went to a cafe and we were getting iced coffee or something. And eventually we heard a paramedic going through the mountain to the cemetery.
Yeah.
And then one of the waiters say, "What happened?" "Oh, some crazy person beat up some old lady or whatever." She had no idea it was me sitting there, you know. Then I fled, and then I didn't go back to Japan for 19 and a half years until a great Canadian person named Russell Peters' brother asked me to go to Japan with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
I was
nice.
really nervous because I thought I was going to jail.
Yeah, but you still went?
I can't say no to Peters.
Peters,
because
yeah.
Joe Rogan asked him to go with him for UFC 5-6 years before. I told him no because I was afraid of going to jail.
Yeah.
But I can't say no to Russell and his brother because they've done so much for me. But I was
terrified.
terrified because as soon as I
And just so the audience is clear, that's a great. You're. There's a good chance that your stepmom killed your dad. Is what it was. Yeah.
That was the I think
that was-
you did, but that was
she literally she was so terrible.
that he killed himself.
Yes.
Like she with them nonstop. She was there was something she was cheating on him with a man who she told him was her cousin, but it was actually some dude she was in his house.
Good memory.
I remember this. Yeah, I remember. No, the story's crazy.
Yeah.
The story's crazy. But yeah, she was some sort of horrible viper of a woman and either directly killed your dad or
was the reason.
like poisoned
Yeah,
him until
and I
and
have
you
a-
found out she was like even poisoning him and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You did your.
Yeah, no, I remember. I
Okay.
remember. Yeah.
That's true. And I have a on my mother's side, I have a cousin in Yokohama. Somehow that side of the family know my stepmother's family. And like I remember 3 years ago, they sent message and say, "Hey, we understand what you did it. We like to move on. We understand. We don't hold any grudges, whatever." But I told my cousin, like, I'm being honest with you. If I saw her and her family, I would do the same thing again.
It's on.
It's very kind of you to feel that way, but that doesn't change because and you know what was funny when I said that story to Rogan, he didn't shame me. I thought he was going to shame me. I was prepared to be like shamed. He shamed me by a different way. Wow, you couldn't even kill her. Like it made me feel like a. You know what I mean? I can't even beat up old lady to death. You know.
Yeah,
Dude.
By the way, what's the fascination with traveling? You said 72 countries. What? Because you're always on the road. What is that?
I think I got a. Well, one, obviously, like Anthony Bourdain, I think it has something to do with running away from your problems.
You think that's what it is?
I think there's a lot of that. I think when you're traveling all the time, you're not with the people who are close to you. And if they're close with you, they know you well. And if they know you well long enough, if something changed within you, they could recognize they say something. But if you're always moving and meeting new people, they have no idea if you're doing good or not.
Everyone knows you on like the surface
interesting.
level.
And they're so you run away. And then, of course, when you're meeting new people, you learn about life, you make an interesting connection. It makes it more interesting. But I think it's also dangerous. That's why I think a lot of my comedian friends that passed away and things like that, stand-up comedy is not necessarily a healthy thing if you think about it.
No,
'Cause
it's
especially
not.
in the beginning, it's very isolating yourself. You don't eat very well, and sleeping habits really weird. And sometimes
Also, you're looking for instant validation every
All the
time you
time,
do it.
yeah.
That's not healthy. I mean, I do it. He do it. I can't separate myself from that, and that's probably my. Cause I do this because one, I know I'm crazy, but I obviously I have a crazy ego when I go on stage. So I
But you
probably
guys
not-
are very lovable guys, though. It's got to be like
thank you.
who you are, but also
Yeah.
Canadian things very humbling. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's why I am lucky I met Russell because how great is John Candy?
Oh yeah. Great.
Canadian, lovable.
I heard Russell's one of the. We were actually talking about this last week going from Houston to Austin.
Yeah.
I was opening for Ryan Long, and the conversation of Russell, and I heard Russell Peters is one of the greatest humans to.
He treat me well. He's very tolerant because I can be very difficult to deal with,
Yeah.
And
So can I. I'm very difficult to deal with. That's why I appreciate Che. I make situations where not on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's I'm just a very difficult human sometimes.
But when I look at you guys do podcasts, it's great. Like you guys are like old couples playing bridge. Like you don't have to tell them you could read each other's mind. And then when I see you podcast with Angela or Manuel, you guys remind me like John Stockton and Karl Malone. Like you guys are good combo. You know how to set. You know how to score point. And once again, shows like this, especially when it's always good to do all the funny, goofy shit about whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also wonderful to talk about presenting these people as a people.
Oh yeah.
And-
of course.
Yeah,
because
cool
they're
people.
wonderful people.
Well, even you, like, we want to have you on because obviously you are a character.
Yeah.
But you're one of the most interesting people I've ever met.
And again, you're not like, this is the thing. I look at you no different than me. We're like unique. We're characters to people, but at the end of the day, like you're just a person. You still care. You still hurt. You still like all the gay stuff, right? Not you like gay stuff.
No, I knew right away meeting you guys. Like you guys are cool, and especially when you were very, very honest. You kind of reminds me poor man's Jim Norton early on, because when I met Jim Norton, I was shocked how he was so honest. It just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
With the whole transgender stuff and things like
By
that.
the way, when you say you think you're like running away from problems, like what's the thing that you feel like you're running away from? Like, yeah, because I mean, you're very honest.
Yeah.
But what's that thing that you're like? What is it?
I think because my parents had a difficult marriage and stuff like that, I think I never learned to make connection and have an intimate. Because you know what it is. It's very ironic because you are doing intimate thing without any intimacy.
Oh, interesting.
And I think they do this thing because they're doing one of the most difficult thing, which is connecting with somebody else, and it's a massively avoidance, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think how gentle you guys are. Because that's one thing I have to say. The younger generation to be very empathetic and kind, and it's been very difficult for me to do that because my family, mental illness, and they're violent. It's sad to say this, but I didn't even know you're supposed to love your mom because my mom was so mentally. I didn't even realize until recently, like, she really was suffering mentally,
Mm-hmm.
And I think she was never diagnosed, and my gut feeling is probably have something to do with bipolar or borderline personality kind of thing.
So did you not like have like intimate relationships with women and stuff, or?
I mean, I have, but like that doesn't mean anything.
That's what I mean. So when you find women for like, what do you do, like escorts? Because I was big into escorts for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that plenty of times.
Stars back in the day.
Kinda, but even like last couple of years, I don't understand. Like, isn't that always true? When you don't want it anymore, it kind of comes to you. When you desperately want it,
Yeah.
they don't like you.
No,
you
the
know?
desperately wanting it is me and Che. Che was yelling at me this morning for an hour.
Not an hour.
For about an
and
hour.
also be clear, it wasn't yelling.
I could
It
have
was
watched
like
it for an hour.
He was yelling.
Dude. So JJ,
It was like, you know what?
except for the male guests, JJ hits on every single guest.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll be like, yeah, he'll be like, do you want to go for dinner? Do you want to do something? And they're like, yeah. And then they don't text him back. And he's always like, what's going on? And I'm like, these are the hottest women in the world who are like billionaires. And he's always flabbergasted that his desperation isn't attractive to them. And I was like trying to
you don't
like,
you don't think it's overrated?
Now I do, yeah. I do think so. I actually think, honestly, and that's kind of like, people always joke about the Goons stuff.
Yeah.
I think the reason it took off when I was doing it
Yes.
a year and a half ago, like when I first initially started doing my Goon videos, because I first did the I'm not a pervert stuff, but then I started doing the stuff.
Yes.
And the stuff started killing. And the reason I think it really started killing, because like people are like, I don't know if the character and I don't know if it's real. I'm like, it's really blurred lines, but it was really, really honest. And yes, to your question, this is overrated if you have like a very good imagination, because sometimes
Very good.
very good imagination.
Yes.
Because sometimes the thought of what will happen with a certain person
Yeah.
or a person you actually never hook up with is exponentially better than some hookup with a random person or even that person you end up.
And that's what it is. It's more fantasy than anything else.
Fantasy, yeah.
And I mean, amount of time you humiliate and act like an idiot trying to get it. I'm older, just it's undignifying. But I think I'm in a later phase where because one time I asked my boss John Staliano, one of the most significant
man.
Buttman.
Buttman.
Buttman was a different guy,
Okay.
but
That was from Seinfeld. Yeah.
there's also man, but Buttman, and then he's considered to be like the father of Gonzo. Which, if you're not familiar, prior to Gonzo, order to protect yourself from censorship from the government, the movies have to have some kind of educational aesthetic value, or else you'll be arrested. So you
For
have to
doing illegal.
making back then.
When
But,
was it? When did that change, by the way?
there was a law.
70s?
No, there was a law in mid '80s where LAPD went after, I think in San Fernando Valley. Basically, they went after them by saying something to the fact that what you're doing is a form of prostitution. They got arrested, and they fought in court. They won. So there was a precedent that you could film here. And what happened with mid '80s, all that in New York and San Francisco were having issues in those local area. So there's an opportunity in LA to make, and there's a law that protect them because I
So basically, the reason Pizza Boys got blown was because the chick ran out of money, and that's an educational thing.
there's a story
Yes.
to it. There should be
There
some
had to be
kind
a
of
narrative.
story, aesthetic value to that thing.
So there was
Okay.
never Gonzo prior to like the 90s and stuff.
It basically started like a mid to late '80s. Like you had like Ed Power, you had like John Staliano, Max Harkle, what am I forgetting? What's his name? Duty Debutante series. So this is very similar to like a literary work, like when they say like stream of consciousness, like
Yeah.
they talk about James Joyce, William Faulkner, Virginia Woolf, and people
By
like that.
the way, those three names love the fact that they're very similar to John Stallion. James Joyce
Listen,
is so
so-
excited that he's like, you're
You
just
know,
like
just like the Buttman.
just like the Buttman.
So it's hard to say who started the Gonzo. And for those of you that don't understand the word Gonzo, it started with Hunter S. Thompson, Gonzo journalism. Basically, you're reporting news, but you put yourself in as a part of the story, hence Gonzo journalism. Well, Gonzo is basically the guy holding the camera also is part of the story. So he's John will holding a camera, see a girl with the Yoshi in Santa Monica. He's getting closer to that, and he's getting so excited. He's breathing so hard, you could see a foam in the corner. And this is so much relatable every man because not everyone looks like Manuel.
Right.
Most people look like piece of like me.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine to be a woman that look like that. So it's a very relatable thing, and it powers. That's what it's doing. Anyway, so when you see ugly guys having sex with them, it gives hope to ugly, useless piece of like myself. So this is a believable fantasy, or another fantasy is like you imagine you're like young Rocco Siffredi or Manuel and things like that.
Yeah.
And I understand because when you start working in the shop, whatever notion I had people's fantasy, I was wrong. Like I had to. Wow, I never did. I see some fat, trucker-looking guy, hairy, gut sticking out. It's like he's gonna get a bunch of movie with teenage girls, and he comes over with a bunch of gay. You just don't know what people are into.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So, and then once I start making them comfortable, start talking to them, I learn more about people, why they're into this thing. I remember asking this gay guy, like, if I was gay, I'd rather have guys, a young Ripley muscle with a big, right? Why do you like hairy, chubby guy with like a? He told me. Well, it reminds me of my mother.
Oh, what?
because they're big and hairy like a bear.
Yeah.
And I'm a baby cub, so it's my mom's holding me.
Yeah.
It reminds them that nourishing part, affectionate thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It could be a thing as well too, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I was helping this one gentleman one time, white guy, maybe in the late 70s. He always get movies with hot black chicks in it. This is so cool. I love making racial situation better for everyone. Because if you want to fuck them, you don't want to murder them, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool. But I got to know him and talk to him, and he told me that when he was a kid growing up in Mississippi as a young kid and going to high school, he was in love with this black girl.
Yeah.
But back then, it was just impossible to date and get married.
Yeah.
And I think he ended up marrying a white lady, then that black lady probably married a black guy. I'm sure, good marriage. But he did tell me watching those with the black girls, like a time machine or something,
Yeah.
Really?
It's just reminiscing.
Of like this love he had.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
just to call people pervert, I understand. I'm a pervert, whatever. It doesn't bother me, and I
Doesn't bother me either.
I respect you for doing it because we are the foot soldier to help this army of ignorance and loneliness and things like that. But I think sometimes when you have a fetish, maybe you're dealing with something that you miss. Like that guy missing his mom, like hairy guys, or this white guy missing his childhood and things like that.
That's crazy.
So I try to be more accepting and compassionate to those people.
I try. I'm very, very, very compassionate. To
You don't understand. Yes, you're very, very compassionate. Out of her face, I get it.
To people.
No, but it's. I don't.
We have to wrap this up in a second.
No, we'll go. Let's go right to 3. Let's go right to 3, dude. This is too interesting, man.
No, I mean I really am. Like they make.
How much more time do you have? Because I do want to mention a couple things.
Yeah, we got like
mention-
another
go.
10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Hold on. I got to send over the stuff to Brandy right now.
Oh,
That's our
continue
next
to-
guest.
No, I really.
But yeah, keep talking.
I really am. These guys bust my balls. Eric and Che bust my balls. But
Yeah.
you can tell from someone who understands the human psychology like you can tell. Like I do care about these. Like even like
It's very clear to me when I met you. Yeah.
even when I was like very, I really struggled with misogyny for a long time. And then my ex, who was the Naked News anchor, being with her really made me so much softer to women. I still like to be misogynistic, but when...
But I want to know from you, you're working at the store and you're getting to know and learn from all these people, and then you go into the industry and then you leave the industry years ago. What got you in? You're like, I'm going to start shooting, and you shot some crazy shit too.
What do you mean?
Well, you told me you did like a bang in Germany.
I went to. I didn't film anything, but I've been to a bunch of those things with my friend Brandon Iron. He'll go like different shoots and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun going to different country, how they apply, see their and things like that. In Japan and it's really that Japanese were terrible during World War II.
Yeah.
So many of the Asian countries I hate them, but boy, do they love Japanese.
Yeah.
And I think the ping pong diplomacy during the 70s where they opened the relationship between U.S. and China playing ping pong.
Yeah.
I would like to do like diplomacy where we will improve the relationship between China and Japan or something like that too, because as much as they don't like Japanese and they have a right to hate Japanese, it may always be like whenever the major Japanese female starts getting married and retire, 10, 15, 20 million Chinese people, we want to thank and congratulate, and we are very happy for our sister in Japan. Like, it's like shocking.
Yeah.
Japan can make all these crimes and genocide, but does kind of
Unites
people.
everyone.
Yeah.
Why do you think that people love Japanese so much? What is it about the Japanese?
Naughtiness.
Maybe it's just so weird, I guess.
Yeah.
But what's funny is actually most Japanese are weird. They just pinpoint all the weird one and just focus on that.
Yeah.
But
Why do you think they love playing with their food so much?
Playing with their food. What do you mean?
They always do things with their food.
Oh,
They do a lot of weird stuff like that.
Yeah, like the live things.
I got a theory that it's shame that the Japanese have. They're usually, from what I've seen, it centers around shame.
Yeah.
And it's like you're like not supposed to be doing this. You're like where you're having. There's this reluctant trepidation around them, and it's almost this buildup of like we're not supposed to for X reason, and then breaking that. And there's always this little bit of shamefulness, even when the girl's getting and she's like, her reaction is almost like I shouldn't even be here. I shouldn't even be doing this.
I gotta admit, they kind of like the kind of.
They do like a little bit of.
By the way, you did have a couple things you want to get to.
Yes,
but I do want to say, maybe next time on the show. But
we'll have you back.
We'd love to get you on with the star next time. So we'll throw dates to you right after this.
But I will say that whenever this thing's released, you happen to be living in Michigan. I kind of help me film something. It has something to do with true crime. And I have a new theory, but like I was telling you before, I'm sure plenty of people who always listen to me in pod. I was one of the 4 in the room when Ghislaine Maxwell got a guilty verdict.
Yeah.
I went to Danny Masterson, Harvey Weinstein, President Trump. I went to
all these trials,
any kind of related crimes, because I'm not part of this pod, but we're in the same army, because I think some of the terrible things happen in the world. People in leadership roles, they're doing terrible things in the world because they have some kind of problem. So in my opinion, if something horrible happened in a corporate boardroom, it originated in bedroom. And if something horrible happened in the war room, it started in bedroom too. I think more we make it easier to talk about, those people could get help and not do those crazy shit just because they got some kind of issue, want to punish people. I remember one time Napoleon had an issue with his wife, Josephine. He was so angry and frustrated. He already won this battle, but he was excessively cruel and killed a bunch of people to punish people, There's a sexual component
to people's like
evil.
Yeah.
So there's a many different way to people, For example,
can you show us?
No, but
Bernie Madoff got off ripping people off. That's his orgasm.
Right.
So by stealing money and ruining these people's life, he got off on it. Chairman Mao getting a bunch of millions of people getting his way of him getting off.
It's like a form of release of frustration. It is like there's a core piece of that is like hardwired into our biology. And you see it in like the way these kinks come out, the way these people are expressing themselves. This guy was in love with this young black girl when he was in high school, and now he's still to her and feeling this almost nostalgia when he's off. There can be something if you have a very negative thing attached to yours that forces you to like this. It's a constant urge. We're horny from like prepubescent until we're dead. Horny's there. And
I think sometimes when kids are abused, when they get big, they try to fix themselves by doing that to somebody else. There's a lot of that stuff. By the way, the weird show that I was telling you, and I think you guys too. Maybe you guys are the only one who could do it with me. I used to produce a show in San Luis Obispo at the halfway house, and 2/3 of audience are registered offenders.
Jesus.
The one I'm trying to do, Florida, it's like 95, 96, 97% of the audience are registered offenders. and the reason I do it, if you want to protect people, especially women and children, instead of making these people monsters, you have to get to know them, why they did what they did, and then talking to them and making them laugh and win their trust, because I was abused as a kid, and I think it had a long-term impact, and it put me in a certain path. And I think
get our next guest.
What I'm trying to do is, at least things I have to deal with in this business and happened in my childhood, you and I, we could be an ethical pervert.
Yes.
Use our knowledge to help people.
I do believe, and I think that's a great way to wrap. We'll wrap it in a second, but I do think there is a thing about being ethical perverts. Kind of like I'll say crazy stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
But I'm being open with what I'm into, and I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah.
And I think I think it should be normalized not everything I do is for you, but everything I do.
But by you being open like that, it helps other people to be encouraged
Yeah.
and kind of wanted. Two things I'm done. This Sunday is that I like to dedicate this episode to a person named Anna Mall. This Friday, 20 years ago, as she was driving out of the convention, she was in a car accident and died. And she was a wonderful, sweet, one of the greatest performer. She went out her way to make fans take a picture. None of these girls did what Anna Mall did. She really made lonely guys feel loved, and she was lovely. Took all kinds of goofy pictures, made them happy. So this Sunday,
This will come out in a few. This will come out in like 6-7 weeks.
yeah,
But still, yeah.
yeah. But so just want to say this Sunday is 20th. And last one is I work with an organization in Chicago called SurvivorsForChange.org. It's my friend Kelly G. He was abused as a kid, and they have a program in Chicago helping coaches and sports program throughout the country to protect kids from abuse and help them become a better athlete. So if you want to donate,
We'll donate this.
SurvivorsForChange.org.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I want to come back next time. I'm working on a documentary called Pariah. I can't tell you, but it's about really dark moment. And
You did mention to me you've been working on it for years, right?
yeah, I'm finally doing my portion of interview next week, and I think it should be by middle to later this year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yoshi. You're not only a very funny person, you're a good friend.
Thanks. I was supposed to do a couple months ago, and thanks for letting me get back. and do
Yeah,
that.
but thank you for doing it. So into that camera, can you let everyone know where they can find you?
Instagram at Yoshi Obayashi.